All right, it is a tasty and healthy day today on the Endless Hustle because I'm chatting with two guys who know a little bit about good soda, and I can definitely testify to that because I am a huge fan of Olipop. Kenny Mayne, famed sports anchor, of course, one of the big faces of ESPN, Stephen Vigilante from Olipop, and you guys have formed quite the partnership. Kenny, this is what you're doing in retirement from ESPN? We're pitching great soda. I love it.
Well, I did it even before. I kind of knew I was going to leave. The writing was on the wall pretty much. And I got announced on, May 10th. I think it was a Monday. And I went on Twitter and said, I'm leaving, salary cap casualty, just kind of like, it's been fun. I'll miss the people and the vending machine. That was about all I said. And then I was on LeBatard's podcast and I name dropped Olipop because I'm a user. We order it. There's one sitting at the door right now. Better be coming for free from here on out, by the way. And Olipop social media people apparently were listening to that show and they sent me a nice little note. Hey, thanks for the shout out. We want to send you a free case. And I was like, fuck free case. I want to make a commercial. Who's your guy? And that's this guy, Steven. And so did we talk that very night? I think I can't remember.
Yeah.
I was standing right there.
He went on the LeBatard show the day he announced on Twitter, and it was minute one. First of all, it was the opening minute of the episode. Dan asked him what he's doing. He goes, "I'm sitting in my kitchen eating an omelet, drinking an Olipop." And 10 people sent it to me, and it was one of those things where like people send me this kind of stuff all the time, and I don't always listen to it. And then someone was like, "You need to listen to it. This is like really organic." And I was like, "Okay, fine." So I listened to it and I was like, this is awesome. And I'm like Googling, how do you get in touch with Kenny Mayne? You said on the podcast, you were like, if someone hears this from Olipop, get at me. And I'm like Googling, I'm like, how do you, and I was like, Twitter, of course. What am I doing? So I hopped on the Olipop account, tweet at him, jump in the DMs. And then he emails me his cell phone number. And I'm like 30 years old. I grew up in New Jersey. I was like the biggest Sports Center guy in the world. I wanted to be a Sports Center anchor. There's something in my parents' house, or just in Jersey, that said, I want to be a Sports Center anchor when I grew up. Kenny was like my idol. I'm like getting on the phone with him. I'm driving to dinner. This was now Thursday. So the tweet took a day and then whatever. So it's Thursday night. And we're like going at it on the phone. And he's like telling me this whole story about drinking 2 Coca-Colas a day for 25 years. And yada, yada. I'm like, on the marketing side, you can't script something better than this, right? Like somebody who people listen to, authentically reaching out, telling you a story about how you literally got them unaddicted to Coca-Cola. And then for us as a brand, like, you know, we are a Whole Foods mom brand for the most part, and like really trying to reach like a more mainstream male audience. It's like, if you're a male age 30 to 55, you know who Kenny Mayne is. That's just fact. And so for us, I was like, this is like the most perfect thing ever. Now, granted, we don't have AT&T, Ford budgets, so we had to work through like what that was going to look like. But we turned an ad around in a month. We went exactly 28 days between the podcast and airing the ad on streaming services, which is unbelievable. Like that would take Coke or Pepsi 18 months to do. And
the best part for me, as somebody who tries to make commercials, is typically you get caught in the bureaucracy. There's meetings, there's, decks. I don't even know how to make a deck. I just pitched a commercial yesterday on a text about this long and said, I can make it fancier if you need me to, but I would hope you get the bit, this is all you need. So to his credit, and I hope all my clients will be like him, where, hey, do you want to see just make it funny and stick to that story and make sure to mention Olipop. And then the only requirement was at the very end, the little tagline about how to order it, drinkolipop.com. We did a bunch of versions of that they could play with, but I didn't write anything. I just had a couple of friends who were my camera guys that I know if it worked or didn't work. And okay, that one sucked. Let's try this one. And I stood over there in the yard and we had pretty flowers behind it. And we had a wheelbarrow full of sugar to demonstrate the amount of sugar you typically are ingesting if you drink the other stuff. And I just did like 20 takes, and I think you're going to use 10 of them or 8 of them, or whatever number. Yeah,
every one of them is great.
That's how you make a commercial.
I got to give a major shout out to our co-founder David Lester. He's a British guy. He's a big soccer fan, but had no idea who Kenny was. And I called him and I was like, hey, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Like, can I run with this? And I gave him kind of the spiel, and he was like, don't really know what you're talking about, but go for it.
And it's funny. This is why I wanted to talk to the both of you about this, because this is a modern day success story of how digital media, brands, and celebrity can all merge together through just happenstance. This type of situation didn't exist 15 years ago. And here we are talking over Zoom virtually from different cities and different parts of the country about how something like this came together. It's incredible.
Well, for my money, I don't know why it can't happen more often that way. If not, it doesn't necessarily always have to be through Twitter or the name drop on a podcast, but I just don't get why smart people can't quickly get other borderline smart people and, here's my idea. What do you think? I like it. Let's do it. And I was like, you're serious? Because I remember saying to Steven, like, okay, that's great. You just said that, but you realize I'm in SAG. You got to talk to my attorney. We have to, I have to be that official. It can't just be a phone call and I'm going to go hire people for however much they cost. But we made it official. I think you work with my guy who's also named as Steve. I think we wrapped it up in
less than a week.
days.
Yeah. We had a call Thursday. I think I talked to him on Sunday, and then I don't know. I think we had something signed by Tuesday. It was crazy. I mean, this is what we talk about this as like a challenger brand too. It's like, this is the stuff we need to do to ever make a dent in the Coke and Pepsis of the world. And it's like, we can do this. We can say yes and turn something around in a month, which is unheard of.
Even though it was, I've done commercials with 250 people on set and walkie-talkies and 70 people in the, what do they call it, video village, and please stick to the script, people. And then I've done this one where I had, and I should mention DGA Productions out of Boston. They're the ones that made this all happen. They did the edits. Aaron Fruitman, Mike Andrews, a whole bunch of guys were involved. And I trust those guys because I've worked with them before. So I directed it from my position in front of the camera because there wasn't much to direct. I'm just telling myself to say shit, right? And I would just check with my guys. That one worked. They'd nod or they'd laugh. I could feel them laughing at the good ones, feel them not laughing at the bad ones, and we stuck with the good ones and we just kept going. And then even weirder than this story, I went out to Seattle right after my last day at ESPN, and I just needed some air. That's where I'm from, and I got my family. I went to Little League games. I played golf, hung out. And one day, me and a guy named Jason Jobs, good friend, cameraman, works Monday Night Football and other things. And we've always said, if we ever think of something, let's just go shoot it, see what happens. Like maybe nothing happens. Maybe we had a fun day. We went out to a nice dinner at Tavolata, Second and Bell, if you're ever in Seattle. And we shot this stupid thing about miniature golf. I did commentary about little kids playing miniature golf, and I acted like it was the Masters, right? Like, here's Rennie on 4. She's in a very difficult spot right now. She's lies 7, and she's still not teed off. She's one of the worst golfers I've ever seen. I'm doing that kind of commentary, right? And then I interviewed them. So just for the hell of it, we put a 1-minute bit that you can find on Twitter with the cute little girl named Rennie. He sees it.
As a big pairing of this, it'll be
3 million impressions or something. I think a Kardashian must have retweeted. I don't know what happened, but I've never done anything that got more attention than that. So I call Steven back. Hey, I got another thing. It's not a commercial. It's just this stupid thing where I'm doing miniature golf. Would you like to attach your name to my Twitter, my Instagram, which has nobody following because I just joined? I don't even have a YouTube channel. Did you guys set that up yet? Set it up.
We're uploading everything today.
And it got attention, and they're going to get their money's worth because we got 4 more to go. One's coming out Saturday, tomorrow. I don't know when this airs, but it's Saturday the 26th. It's going to come out, and we hope it gets attention. And Olipop hopes it gets attention because their name's next to it. So there's another way to do stuff, right?
So Steven, obviously coming off, you couldn't have captured Kenny at a better time. He obviously has this grand farewell with SportsCenter. Kenny, I know I've read both in interviews and just your op-ed with the LA Times, where you talked about where you were hoping that only 9 people may actually give a shit, but meanwhile, the whole world gave a shit because you've meant so much to all of us. So for you from a marketing side, Steven, when you're able to capture someone who's at the zeitgeist of culture at the moment and build them into an emerging brand like Olipop, what type of impact does that actually have?
I mean, you can't ask for something more. I feel like it's literally perfect. And for us, we're in a point of scale where we just launched into, we're in 1,000 Kroger stores, which is the biggest grocery store chain in the country, very mainstream.
Free shout out Kroger.
Free shout out Kroger, earned media. And we just launched a Target and 7-Eleven, right? So we're kind of graduating out of the Whole Foods and the Sprouts of the world where we do really well, and we're trying to reach this new audience, right? And you're not going to do that with like the same wellness influencers we've been working with and like the same Bachelor contestants we've been working with for the last 2 years. You're going to need to work with new people. It's TikTok. It's people like Kenny. It's athletes. You know, we've got JJ Redick as an investor in Olipop, and we're gonna start getting him involved in things. And so, you know, timing could have been better, but you know, it's also, it's like, you know, you got to be paying attention. You got to be able to move and capitalize on these things. I think honestly, most brands are like kind of sitting around hoping these things happen, and then they're not kind of ready when they do. And we were kind of ready to jump. The mini golf thing is also absolutely hilarious. I can't wait to put that.
I'm not saying we're so smart. Some of it's just timing, but again, I don't understand why people are stuck in the conforming to, you know, the rigid way they've always done things, and they can't think of a different way to do things. When look how simple this was. And I won't say the amount, but it wasn't like he referenced, it wasn't an AT&T commercial, right? But I was happy with it. I'd be happier if we do the Super Bowl ad that I'm about to pitch, but or short of that, let's get the Marshawn thing going.
Yeah.
Shout out Marshawn.
Well, speaking of which, Kenny, obviously you had the Aaron Rodgers moment.
Arthur, I didn't answer your question. It's our top performing Facebook ad to give you an answer. Yeah, it's like,
so you're happy.
We're happy, yeah. And we're just starting to turn it on. The beauty of the world now, especially in a post-COVID world where we, as a beverage brand, we weren't selling online before COVID, and then it went, you know, became 40% of our business overnight. And it's still 40% of our business. It's held there. It's performs very well. We now have all these new capabilities that we didn't have, and that most startup beverage brands have never figured out how to do, which is very, very intentional targeting online. And so we're going to be running, I actually just signed the IO yesterday. We're going to be running this ad we can actually serve this ad to anyone who's ever watched a Kenny Mayne show on a streaming app. So we'll be able to service people who've seen him on SportsCenter. We'll be able to run this in the Olympics, where he's, you know, announcing on behalf of NBC's streaming platform. We'll be able to do this, you know, very targeted to fans of golf on streaming services. And so it's like, not only do we have this amazing piece of content, we know exactly who we're putting it in front of, which makes the whole thing perform better versus, you know, 5 years ago, you just make a piece of content, you kind of just throw it out to the world and hope somebody notices.
Kenny, I want to talk to you about, now that you've had time to reflect. Obviously, when you're in the moment and you're walking away and the world was saying goodbye and the reaction was incredible, that's awesome. But now that there's been some time to reflect and you're able to look back on that type of goodbye and the reaction that you got, what goes through your mind?
I was felt blessed, and everybody always used the word humble, and it sounds like the wrong word because you should be full of yourself, but that's how you feel, like undeserving. And, you know, it was pretty cool. Like, and the things that Marshawn said, something, that's the one time I got a little choked up on the show. I can't remember the words exactly, but I was asking him about, isn't it wrong how people mischaracterize you for so long? Because I knew him in a different way from his rookie year, and just know what a warm, funny guy he is. He's smart. He's a great teammate. He's great in the community. He helps with kids in Oakland and Seattle and Special Olympics and homeless people, and the list is too long, right? So I knew him that way, right? And these other people are writing about him like he's a jerk because he won't do stupid conventional interviews. And he said something like, you were helpful in that regard. Like, you said things about me that got people to see me as a good guy. And that was like very touching, you know? So yeah, I miss all the people. I'm still good friends with, you know, half the people at ESPN. I don't know everybody there, but the ones I know, like, I never had a bad issue with anybody there, really. And so I miss the shows. They're fun to do. I miss the people. I'll still see some of them playing golf or somewhere at the coffee store, whatever. But I like where I am at now better than where I was 3 weeks ago, I guess is the best way to put it.
Steven, you had obviously mentioned Kenny's next gig with the Olympics and Peacock. How are you able to build Olipop into that and showcase his added exposure with the brand?
We're working on the answer to that right now, but don't have it quite fleshed out enough to get. We're talking to a number of different players, some of which are much larger than us, that could, in theory, help foot a much larger bill for an activation. So
that's what we're talking about.
We're not going to call them out.
Let's talk to them.
But yeah, I mean, I'm also talking to some other Olympic athletes about potentially getting involved, and the world is kind of our oyster right now. It's like, again, fitness is also very interesting for us. Like, we haven't even touched on this, but Olipop is a healthy alternative, or we call it a new kind of soda that's low in sugar, high in fiber, but tastes exactly like the sodas you grew up with. And so we've kind of hung out more or less in like the health and wellness world for the most part right now, but tons of applications across. Anyone looking to like cut sugar out of their diet should be interested in this. And
I have a guy, might as well brainstorm on the air here. I have a guy that has a deal with a bunch of the top athletes to market themselves in ways other than the conventional way. So we'll be talking after this.
They're not locked into Coke and Pepsi. It's usually the issue I run into.
I feel like Kenny is the pitch master. He's already pitched a Super Bowl commercial during this interview, pitching agents' relationships. You guys got to hire Kenny for Olipop just in terms of like executive level at this point.
The one thing we missed that I think is actually even makes this whole story even more interesting. I have this whole theory that there's like this consortium of, I mean, it's not a theory. This is a fact. There's like, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Kanye West, Kenny Mayne, John Lovett, Dax Shepard, like super celebs who are all addicted to Diet Coke. And they all talk amongst themselves. And we have a whole Bill Gates campaign we want to do next year. But Kenny actually originally heard us on Pod Save America, which for those who don't know is like one of the biggest podcasts in the world. It's the most downloaded political podcast. We ended up actually sponsoring an episode that Joe Biden was on a week before the election and like broke our website. We did our biggest day of sales ever. And John Lovett, who is the main host of Pod Save America, is like a notorious Diet Coke drinker. And actually in the ad read went off script saying that he was no longer going to drink Diet Coke and was going to be drinking vintage cola Olipop, which I was like, okay, that's the best thing that's ever going to happen to us. But even better than that was Kenny heard that episode, texted John and was like, is this stuff legit? And side texted him, and John was like, yeah, it is. Because I shipped him and Ronan Farrow, they're on an Olipop subscription as well. So.
That story is mostly true. It wasn't the Biden episode. I listen to them all the time. If not them, Sarah Kenzie or Gaslit Nation, free shout out. You should get on her show. And Andrea.
It wasn't the Biden episode?
No, I listen to them all the time. So
we only did two other. I think we only did two others.
It wasn't the Biden. It was a different one because it was longer ago. It was before that.
It was a week or two before that because I remember they called us. They had a spot open in the Biden episode, and they called us like the day before and gave us like. I couldn't believe it. I was like, yes, done, go do it.
But whatever episode it was not Lovett. It was Dan Pfeiffer who I DM'd and said, hey, what's that drink you guys were talking about? I'm trying to quit the hardcore stuff. And he writes back Olipop. And I was like, what the fuck's Olipop? And Gretchen, my wife, who's a health nut, she just graduated she's going to be doing health coaching now. Could do it for Olipop. I mean, if you guys need a full
get her on the influencer program.
Gretchen. So she starts we get it at Whole Foods. She started ordering it. I could show you, I could walk this around the house. We have a case of it sitting at our front door. We just didn't bring it in yet. It's drying out. And I started drinking it, and I started cheating about, I don't know, 3 times a week. I would have the old brand. I didn't even mention their name. I'm so over them, but it had a lot of sugar, that much I know. And I would, like the other day I went golfing and I just wanted a taste. They didn't have Olipop in the golf cart, of course. So I got some other brand and I had one sip and I just poured the whole rest of it out in front of John Buccigross to show him that I'm not into, and he said, good for you, man. Good for you. You had one sip, you got your little fix, you got your little sugar taste, but I don't want to drink the other stuff. I want to, drink healthier, live healthier, and Olipop is a better way. I did notice on one of your advertisements, they say in England, 5 grams. I was selling 2. Some have 2, some have 5. Which is it?
Correct. The cola has 2. Almost all of them have 2. The orange and the orange and the cherry have 5.
Yeah. So I didn't lie. We want to have truth in advertising. I even said that's not a medical fact. This isn't a medical commercial anyway. So we're not going to have the FCC coming after us, or FTC, anybody.
Gretchen Mayne, she's been a subscriber since January 17th.
Yeah, she's out.
Loyal customer. Actually, she's probably, you guys are on a 2-week plan, so you've gotten like almost probably more orders than 99% of our customers.
Yeah, well, we're out of that game because we're looking for the big shipment.
We've shifted to a sponsorship model.
Hey, Kenny, by the way, quick question I wanted to ask you. So obviously your former network, I can now say former network, acquired the rights to the NHL, and Gretzky is going to now be a commentator for Turner Sports. It was just announced Messier is going to be doing commentary for the NHL for ESPN. Advice to those two icons on actually how to do a good job.
Watch what you sign up for and know what you're signing up for. That'd be the first piece of advice. And enjoy the experience. They're going to do great stuff. I have no malice toward ESPN. Like, they're going to continue to do great stuff. All my friends are there doing great stuff. And hopefully John Buccigross is a central figure in all that. He saved hockey individually. He has a website for college hockey. He has this little trademark thing he did. And people have the Bucci overtime challenge, you know, whenever there's a game. And a whole bunch of people are into hockey and into it, particularly because of the way he's, you know, kind of expressed, here's a cool way to follow hockey. Every time there's an overtime, let's all pick which guy's going to score, right? Or which girl, because he does girls hockey too, women's hockey. So yeah, I'd say enjoy it, know what you're getting into, and have fun. Hockey, to me, I like watching hockey. I don't know a lot about it because I didn't grow up with it. I grew up with football and basketball, baseball, you know, the stick sports, balls and sticks. But I enjoyed working with Barry Melrose, Levy, and Linda Cohn, and Bucci, all these people that really love hockey, that really have it in their blood. I grew up with football. In fact, I oftentimes like hold it. It's like a pacifier. I've done it all my life, and it feels good just to, you know, it's like somebody else likes, I don't know, something else they like to have near them, and it comforts you sort of. So oftentimes when I do an interview or a business meeting or whatever, it's just, they don't see me, I'm flipping the ball around like this, and it feels good.
Steven, before I let you guys go, we've been on a group text together with Kenny, and you and I were talking about he's just hilarious. Give me your best Kenny Mayne story from getting to know him so far.
I don't know. I think it's like it's almost become a little party trick. I was with like my cousins the other night, older, and I was back in New Jersey, and I was like telling them this whole story, and my cousin's like a massive sports fan. I'm like, let's get him on the horn and just like FaceTime. He's always down to like say hi to people, and I don't know. He's just a normal guy. He's a normal guy who happens to be very funny and happens to be on TV. But
I have felt a little bit like a Olipop slut in that sense. Just Kenny's on now. Hey, say hi to these people you don't know. Hey, everybody. Hi, I'm here.
It's a party trick.
No,
Yeah.
it's a great partnership.
I have a good friend, Mark, in Eastern Montana, Mark Sansevier, who, by the way, broke Babe Ruth's home run record in one summer of wiffle ball. So, you know. And he's done that, but in more as a joke, like, hey, I'm talking about, you know, he's maybe saw me on TV and they're laughing about something, and hey, let's call him right now, you know. But I could care less what our advertising company brings to Olipop, that type of access.
I mean, it's just, I'm getting texts from random people who like never gave a shit about us or maybe didn't even know who we are, and they're like, how the hell did you get Kenny Mayne involved? And that's where I know I'm like, all right, great. We're reaching new people. Like, this is working, which is the most important part. But no, it's amazing. It's perfect. It's a perfect partnership.
It is
you can't fake authenticity. That's the thing with all this stuff. When I talk to influencers or talent or celebrities, it's like, if I'm pitching them, it's never going to work. It almost has to be like, they have to reach out to us. They have to be posting about it already, because those things just work better. Like it's if you don't have to write a script, like there was no script. Kenny said the same. It's like telling a real story. People resonate with that. Once you get into scripts and briefs, and it's where all these big companies like fall on their faces, because it's like very hard to be authentic.
Well, and honestly, like a real point on this, I really appreciated that there was no. I said, what are the must dos or the must haves? We call them, and he said, just say the name right and make sure you get our website out. Other than that, be you. You know, like man, could you get better direction from somebody you're working for? Like I've the only one, and this is not a competitor of yours, Duluth Trading Company, free shout out. I'm working with you guys, call me up. I did a bunch of commercials for them through ESPN, right? Like I almost looked at the advertising at ESPN as my second job. Not almost, I did. And I would constantly bug Carrie, who was in charge. Hey, I got an idea for this company. What about this? What about that? And oftentimes what I do is I have the joke or a serious one. I got a couple of serious ones. I don't really care who it's for, but we'll get your name in there. Just buy the joke first, right? Like, why do we have to go back to the drawing board and do it just for them when we already have a really good premise that works really for anybody?
Congratulations. Fantastic partnership with Olipop. Great story. I wanted to talk all about it. I think this is the modern day new technique of finding influencers and celebrities through marketing. And I really applaud you, Steven, on being able to make this happen.
It's a revolution.
to revolution.
You mean Olipop forever, Kenny, before we go.
Olipop forever, all day, Olipop.
When he calls himself Ken Mayne, that's like the best part of the whole thing.
No, the only people who, Gretchen and Aaron Rodgers are the only people who, and Gretchen's parents, Ken Mayne,
Ken Mayne,
spokesman, Olipop.
former ESPN sportscaster, current.
Hey, I got a phone call too, so I have to hang up on you.
Thanks, Arthur.
All right, guys, later.